Hey, welcome back again, true scalpers. We're back again, 3 days in a row for our next live stream and true scalping at its best. 3-minute time frames, no messing around, in and out, grab those pips and run off into the sunset. That's the idea. So we're back. It's the Mohawk Forex team. Go to www.mohawkforex.com for information on our trading group and gain access to our Discord channel and to this axe trading system that I see on screen. And that's it. So today we are looking at the durable goods news, which is up in about 7-8 minutes time. Then we'll stick around to the New York Open. We'll be scalping that, and then we'll finish the day off with the EIA crude oil stocks news, our favorites. We took a win on API last night, going the reverse of the news, as it sometimes happens. It doesn't matter. You just know there's a catalyst where the market decides to reverse or not. We took that, and that was a nice win indeed. We've done about 35 trades already today, thanks to DAX, and we've literally smashed our TPs pretty well, so we're well up already. So a good start. It was a good Euro Open and a good London Open, and then there was a bit of scalping in between. Kind of had a break, and then we're back. So we've got 7 minutes till the durable goods news. Just going to refresh the page. We're looking at gold here. See? Had a bit of a sell-off in a range, looking to pull back. Goods news might this one way or the other. We'll have a look and see what the result is. And same with US-30 again, kind of open massive sell-offs. We're in a bear market now officially, as far as I'm concerned, and so we're just looking for pullbacks all the time. Here's my favorite noise coming up right now. That is my gin and tonic. Treat today. We've done so well this week already that I'm going in with a gin and tonic. Limnon, of course. Well, that's on the table. Just have a little drink. Beautiful, beautiful. So, yes, we're trading in a bear market, but rules on a 3-minute time frame, it doesn't really make a difference. We stick to our rules, we stick to our fundamentals, and we can see. Can get opportunities on the buys and the sells. We know the pictures on the downside overall, but we're not holding trades. We're trying to get out as quickly as we can with profit. That's the whole idea behind the true scalping. So just loaded up on my IC markets, of course, using a 1-to-500 leverage. Always. We managed to grow the account from 3,500, 3,600 up to 6,000. So that's pretty good. Not withdrawn anything yet. Just on in after today, we'll take some out of that. We're up about $500 at the moment. I'm sure some good. Of them are still trying to figure out if this is a new reality. So usually I would end or do much more, but we want to see what we can do. See what this news event brings. Durable goods, as you can see. Oops. Go. Got 3 news events: X transportation, the month-on-month, and X defense figures. Well, so combination of all these. The middle one is, of course, we're looking at a prediction of 0.6 down again. I don't see what they want to see is a higher figure. Good for the dollar. Because we're pre-market, that means we could go totally the opposite direction. News is severely worse, so it's 0.4, 0.3. Then we could be looking at buys on the US-30 and sells on gold and reverses. So that's what a lot happens a lot of the time. I keep saying this, the pre-market. It'd be too easy if just every time there's a news event, things just went the way of the news. So you've got to learn which ones reverse, which ones don't, and then flip it for the New York Open. And that's kind of what I teach in the group. And like I say, not all, we don't trade every single news event. It's the ones like IFO, durable goods, NFP, crude oil and stuff, and the PMIs are all ones that move, and continuing jobless claims, stuff like that. Knowing which ones. Tomorrow, of course, we've got that continuous job claims. So again, similar time to Friday. Just the the personal spending income, and also Michigan consumer, which is a nice one to end on. Today we've just got the durable goods, then we've got the open, and then like I say, we'll have a look around to do the EIA crude oil, see if we get another nice result on that. This morning the DAX pretty much as predicted. Their results, it was bang on, the growth rate and the consumer confidence, and DAX are on that sold off basically. It wasn't good news in terms of the 3-minute time frame. It sold off, so we went with that, and we got some nice winners. That's why we ended up doing so many trades. This news really did set DAX on fire, euro, and then so we're plugged into Bloomberg as well, so just check where we're at the market. So I'll do a call in a minute. Like I say, you can trade gold on this if you want as well. Obviously, it's totally up to you. I'm going in on US-30, and well, I might go on both. I'll see which one. I've got them on different screens, but I'm just seeing which one move most on the news. They're both sat pretty much, as you can see. Gold is sat on a distance here, our blue zone, and US-30 is kind of in the middle, just about to try and break the neutral distance, our daily pivot. So this is an important zone. It's kind of a W it formed here, so there might be a second leg. The news is worse than expected. We could get a push up. Let's see. Countdown, got 2 minutes to go. Good luck. Probably mention it on the adverts. We're on US-30. Like I say, you can see price action has been really weak. There was a big sell-off and a kind of a pullback, retest, and then obviously our daily pivot. So if it breaks above here, we're going up higher, maybe back to our flat baseline here, maybe around that 31889. Selling, we're going lower, and our breakout zone here, get a nice bearish signal and keep on down. So let's see, just watch RSI, just see what we get and wait for that move. That's a nice gin and tonic as well. 10 seconds, good luck everybody. Let's see what we can get out of this. See the result, let's see it pop up. No need to panic, we don't enter straight away anymore. That was pre-COVID days. Like, it's all worse than expected news. So it's 0.4 and 0.3, which is what said might move the market. Okay, it's moving it down, but you can see we've got a lot of support here. See if this breaks this. Going to break that zone. Wait for it to pop up again. Let's see. White line, look at price action, see if that's going to pop before it pops down. Result, all worse than expected. See, and here we've got two nice sells on it straight away. We set our take profit at 80 pips, 80 points on US-30, so we've got ourselves $100 there. Nice sell. So as you can see, that dip down there, beautiful. Our first win on it. I'll just post that so you can see. Again, it went the way of the news this time. Sometimes it goes reverse, sometimes it doesn't. RSI is our key. You can see RSI is pointing down. 34 there. Now we watch price action again. And push down the wall. White line there, right on our support. It's the only dodgy thing, it's on support.
That's down from 1.1% in the month of March. Ex-transportation.
There's durable goods been mentioned.
That's down from 1.4%. Both of those slower than anticipated. The forecast for both durable goods and ex-transport was 0.6. Capital goods, non-defense, ex-air, that's the part that economists like to watch because it goes basically into GDP. That's a 0.3 gain, down from a 1.3 gain. So we're really seeing a little bit of weakness there. Shipments, which make a difference in terms of what we're looking at for this quarter. Shipments were up 0.8% for capital goods, non-defense,
What's that line look?
which is good news in the sense that it suggests that we're going to have stronger growth this quarter. And I might also mention, guys, the mortgage applications index fell another 1.2% earlier today. That was
we've got another 3 sales, 22, 6 and 6. Would have been a bit more, but again the execution was slow then on the broker. So 3 sales on that. Watch the action on there.
But within all that you read, which day does that tilt right now?
We've got one as well. 24, which is about $35.
And I think the problem is we get caught in between those on Wall Street who see the market going down and see that as a disaster of all time, and people on Main Street who are seeing things slow down, but they're not losing their jobs yet. And so there are things that matter to them more, inflation being one of them. This is what's supposed to happen. The Fed's
it's on support, you see, that's the issue. We've got a decent support area.
And that's what we're doing right now, is looking at the markets and sort of the feel in the markets, which is that slowdown that people are looking to. And just to sort of run you through what we're seeing after this data, following on to what we saw yesterday, also weaker than expected data across the board. We are seeing losses continue to accelerate or deepen, I should say.
Nice push up now.
0.1%, 39
at 31802 and our neutral resistance. It's going to pop. Making some good position on there. We're up to 535 now. That's pretty good. See, and this is not even the open yet, so on in there. Reaction of the resistance. We'll drink and wait.
Real yield is becoming more negative, and also all of a sudden the 10-year real yield nicely below zero, positive 0.20%. What are the ramifications?
1 minute 24 on this. You had kind of the go with the news, and it has the reversal, the rejection, like I say, as it goes against it. Buy. But it's because we're sat on our nice support zone here. Let's have a look at gold, and gold was gold was a buy. Arrow. Could have traded gold there. It's just below. Gonna wait for it to break. Price action above. Down there. Gold was a nice buy.
Then the question becomes, is there a Fed put? And right now, it doesn't look like there's going to be, because we're still 14% above the pre-pandemic high.
Mike, we also saw downward revisions on a number of different things, including durable goods. What do you make of the downward revisions?
You can't make too much of them, Lisa, because the data are incomplete when they first come in. We will get an update on this when we get the factory orders report. It contains durable goods revisions, but durable goods are one of the more variable in economic statistics. They go up and down, and it's kind of hard to tell what's going on. Interestingly enough, defense capital goods orders are up 2.5% after being down.
Orders are up, but look, down.
I was expecting one of these months we were going to see a lot more orders because we're sending so much of our stuff over to Ukraine. You'd think that they'd be ordering more to replace it.
Nice place to end with our next conversation. Michael McKee, thank you so much. And again,
it increases at 0.4, less down.
Michael McKee with true expert
Expecting, as you can see.
The word several in a few.
How do you feel about it, really, Tom?
How do you feel about it?
Yeah,
Well, that's where I am.
some.
Yeah,
few,
0.6.
Yeah.
I got a lovely email yesterday.
That's pushing gold up. Look, as you can see,
Finland.
gold
I tried
now.
to
Just wait for that to pull
something
back, and you can
most Americans
buy
don't know
there.
about, and that is the winter war.
Again,
But I believe it was
30's
39
up, and
or
we'll see if it hits
25,000
distance and
of
down.
Finland
So
and so many others
watch
that
this now. We're not in any positions now. We took those trades.
center
Good.
discussion of Finland and Sweden as they consider
Post that.
a new Russia.
Oops.
Mikael Damberg is the Swedish finance minister and joins us this morning. This morning it is front and center.
1, 2, 3, 5, 6 trades.
These very difficult decisions for a neutral Sweden, I believe, to 1523. How abrupt is this change for Sweden, knowing the history of World War II and knowing where we're going now with Russia?
It's a huge decision for us because we've been non-aligned for 200 years. So actually we're one of the countries in the world that has been in peace for the longest time. So for us taking the decision after the Russian invasion of Ukraine to change and to see that our security is stronger within NATO than outside, it is a historic decision from our
I've never understood the politics and social.
To wait and see what the next move on US-30 will stick on the charts. Stochastic is ranging, neutral zone, RSI, so it's all good.
How coalesced, how united is Scandinavia, Denmark, Norway, Sweden, Finland at this time of crisis?
Enormous unity because we share borders, we share history. As you mentioned, Finland and Sweden was the same country for hundreds of years. Before Finland became their own country, they were part of Sweden. My grandfather actually died in the Winter War 1939. My mother was 4 years old when she was sent from Helsinki to Sweden as a war child.
What was Mr. Putin?
Yeah, we got a sell there, we did. Another 25.99, it's about another 35 bucks.
Resiliency of the Baltic Sea and the people that surround it, frankly, including northern Germany at the time. What did he misjudge about Sweden?
Pull back because I took a sell at the top of that neutral resistance.
That he could just go in, take Ukraine,
Any
and
more now?
the brother people of Ukraine and Russia would unite in Greater Russia. I think that was a very
Buys at
mistake
51.
because now they invaded a democratic country. They sent a signal, not least to Finland, with a 130 mile in English. I don't know.
It's just ranging a long track. There's a heavy resistance zone. You can see it's retested it, broke it, retested, just retested now on the news. So that was the durable goods. Going to get a retail breakout zone again.
As finance minister and the inflationary inputs. I know that a lot of European countries are turning to subsidies
gold.
to offset the burden, particularly for
Gold now, it's buy. News there, look. We're selling off.
Sweden is in a different position. We don't have
Down, look, as you can see.
oil or gas. We have a 100% fossil-free energy system in Sweden, but we get affected anyway because of the joint pricing system in Europe. So the prices are very high. So with this winter, we actually went in and gave support to households with very high electricity bills. And now we also have a scheme that we...
Going to wait for it to pop out of that neutral zone. Either the buy or the sell, but the buy's got to be, it's got to break above that, our neutral blue zone to be a confident buy. And even then, I don't think it's going to get that high. I think it's going to hit the here before it comes back down again. So.
No, but I think Europe has shown tremendous unity and together with US on sanctions on Russia. So just 6 months or a year ago, people were talking in Europe, can Europe unite? Will Europe split up? Now we see a more united Europe than ever. So I think this crisis has actually brought Europe together in a tremendous way.
Swedish economics is acclaimed, the contribution of the central bank to monetary theory and thinking has been there forever. Tell us about the Swedish currency with Europe. I mean, we look at Euro Swissy, we look at Euro Hungarian forint as a mortgage proxy as well. Tell us how you treat the Swedish currency.
It's the central bank that handles the currency.
It's in Davos. No one's listening.
No, but I
Size down to
the
48, 47.
committee to have opinion about the central bank in Sweden, because it's under the parliament, not under the government. But they have made decision to higher interest rate, and they have a plan for it, going a bit faster than the European Central Bank, but a bit after the American Fed. So I think there Sweden usually are in between US and Europe.
I don't mean to interrupt, but this is too important.
Yeah.
Do you have Swedish central bank minutes like we do? We report our minutes 6 weeks after the meeting.
Yeah.
Do you read them?
All sat on the
and the central bank always
on our baseline now.
me about their decision, so I understand it.
Okay, really? You're asking for justification for
I've
your not
never
reading the
can I
minutes
honestly
with
say,
the
folks,
Swedish
I've never read
finance
the Fed
minister?
minutes. I
Well,
just
we all
turned
know
them a
this.
key
I know.
and say what happened.
He's looking for justification from the finance minister of Sweden for not reading the minutes. You didn't get it.
Several.
I think it's fascinating.
You will
Minister,
read them
thank you
for
so
me.
much. I will read them
Brother
for
Lovin.
you.
Minister,
It was a
thank you so
pleasure.
much.
Thank you.
A tumultuous time. I really can't say enough about this, and that's been a backdrop here in Davos this week. These decisions of Finland and Sweden, we didn't even have time today to get these incredibly delicate decisions of Sweden with Turkey.
Yeah, and exactly. How do you win over Turkey at a time when that seems to be the biggest sticking point? But just sort of the historical reference of how unique this is to actually engage with some alliance after being neutral for so many years highlights how different this moment is.
Some important study on that, of course, here in Davos, and of course, look to Bloomberg UK.
Push up on US-30, as you can see, hitting that new distance, backing off again. Back up. See.
Infrastructure chairman at
Again.
Carlisle. From Davos, Lisa Abramowitz and Tom Keene on radio and TV. This is Bloomberg.
Definitely class that down on the first you get down.
Keeping you up to date with news from around the world with the first word, I'm Ritika Gupta. In Uvalde, Texas, authorities say all of those killed in an elementary school were in the same fourth grade classroom. At least 19 were killed, along with 2 adults. A number of others were wounded. The gunman was shot and killed by Border Patrol agent.
Remember, the news was expected.
Demanded action to curb the violence. Gun control legislation is stalled on Capitol Hill. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky says there are no prospects for diplomacy unless Russia pulls
5 minutes, so we're just getting.
positions. He vowed that Ukraine will fight until Moscow returns all of its territories. Zelensky spoke by video link to a breakfast meeting in Davos.
Bouncing on our baseline.
To a default after the US Treasury let a key sanctions waiver expire. American banks and individuals are now barred from
Look at
accepting
cable.
bond payments from Russia's government. That
Cable
would
trade
make
from
the
this
US
morning.
rather force Russia into default than allow Moscow to spend its dollars to benefit American investors. And China's Premier Li Keqiang says the country is facing economic difficulties much worse than at the start of the pandemic in 2020. Li urged that efforts be taken to ensure reasonable growth in the second quarter. China is all but certain to miss its growth target by a large margin. For the first time ever, much of that is due to COVID-0, which has hammered the economy.
Yeah, it was a
And shares of Wendy's
sell,
trade billionaire
cable,
Nelson Peltz's Triumph Fund Management
a-
says it will explore a transaction that could include an
went
acquisition of
waiting to
fast
drop
food
down
Train
off
owns about 12%
in
of
pips,
Wendy's and Peltz's The
and you ended up gaining.
Global News 24 hours a day on air and on Bloomberg Quick Take, powered by more than 2,700 journalists and analysts in more than 120 countries.
Win.
I'm Ritika Gupta. This is Bloomberg.
Got lost in, and then he went out down to the breakout line. Good. Right, you could have just continued that once it broke the bone on there. It went all the way down to 55 pips there. I would still be probably holding this, holding it. Breaks out. Good trade that one. As again, same thing. US-30 sell-offs as we know. About 8 weeks in a row. Got a little pullback. It's trapped in the zone now. It's got to break for it to be an official bull. Got to break above here. Is the 11,808. We'll see. While it's below this, was the bear market. And now, obviously, if it breaks below another breakout zone, we're going even lower. Ranging at the moment. For the open.
And sincerity of those green ambitions and those of its two biggest billionaires.
It's really a reminder, isn't it, just how sensitive the markets are to any commentary about trade. We did see some pressure on the yuan, we did see some pressure on the futures. That is now being reversed.
Sell now, look. Those durable goods. Buy, then a sell. Gold now. Price breaks below our points of interest. We're good to sell. A good trade that is. $20 seconds left. Look.
I'm here at the Delhi airport, and behind me you can see SpiceJet 737 MAX aircraft.
Selling 2-1. Next can. Oosh, there you go. Oh. Great drop. Sell.
Chairman Ajay Singh earlier today said that Boeing is going to compensate SpiceJet in form of cash and aircraft.
Move.
There's a big celebration happening at the Gwalior airport. As you can see, they've literally rolled down the red carpet for SpiceJet Chairman Ajay Singh.
And US-30 just ranging. It's not really doing anything yet. If we get a retest our breakout zone, what I might be thinking.
Crypto, you have a world of young
Size 47.
that want their own,
Classics flashing. So it's in a range.
and it is very powerful, and I'm a big believer in it.
Inflation is so undercutting of society and builds so much anger. So I think that dealing with
So once you get a colour on the RSI, then you know what to trade, and then it's just waiting.
food, I think it's a troubled period.
Wait.
We see a social instability as a result of this in countries.
An annual visit with a wonderful Daniel Jurgen of S&P Global. Of course, the new map is his latest effort. But more than any year that I've spoken to Dr. Jurgen, this was a year to speak of the commanding heights and the challenges we have. I thought it was just wonderful to talk to him about the shifts, and as he mentioned, the shifts in Europe are profound.
How different it is to have an entire shift away from one of the world's powers.
You got plenty of
Russia being basically excised from the entire fossil fuel system.
And we got a little bit of a quote. He didn't give us a single point estimate on oil, but I think I heard the Jurgen nudge up as well. Right now, and this is an important conversation for markets, is something that is in Davos, but I think in a really clumsy way. In Davos, painted on every hotel, on every wall, on every storefront, is a nation or a company bragging about infrastructure. We're going to build this, we're going to build that. Infrastructure is misunderstood. Infrastructure is something it's easy to talk about, and it's much harder to do. At Carlisle, doing it is a gentleman from Quebec Hydro of years ago, in Montreal. Makital joins us now, Global Infrastructure Chairman of Carlisle. Thank you so much for joining us. this morning. What is the biggest thing we get wrong about the ginormous infrastructure projects you're looking at?
Well, I think
Right on that
as you
distance
the
right now.
reason why you see that everywhere in Davos is for a good reason. The world is in dire need of infrastructure. For decades, there has been underinvestment across the sector in infrastructure need. If you look at
Castic
civil
high, still not really made a
roads,
move,
road
just
bridges,
range.
water systems. If you look
Hang on
at
and wait here.
energy,
2 minutes 35 on a
infrastructure,
candle.
if you look at other
Price is
sectors,
just above
digital
neutral
infrastructure,
distance.
in the more recent past, the economy has been fast digitalizing across sectors. That has been accelerated by the pandemic. That creates huge investment requirement in data, in data center, in fiber into homes and the like.
What is the constraint? What is the holding up of this? If
40
Carlyle
minutes
and
to the
others are
end,
up to
so
their
keep
eyeballs in
tracking
the
that.
capital,
Gold,
why
yeah,
is
beautiful.
infrastructure
Gold.
delayed?
I said
It is delayed by the
a
needs
great
of
sell on gold. It's all the way down now, and
for
it's
new
got 1 minute
sectors.
57 to finish below.
The energy transition is requiring
Nicer setup.
huge quantities
It's
of
actually been
investments to be
sweeter and
able
easier to follow than
manage
US-30.
phases. I was mentioning digital infrastructure.
Always
So
be
I
like,
think the
it's
challenge
never
is
always
the
like
sheer
that.
nature of the investment needs. I think governments are doing what they can, but the private sector and private groups like Carlyle private equity groups have a role to play because we have the capital expertise and capability to also contribute to filling that gap. But it is the size of it.
How difficult is it to game out profitability of a company in transition that's sort of the sort of bedrock of a transition, particularly with energy?
Well, we take as a principle to carefully select our investment to make sure that every investment we make is profitable. We manage money for our LPs who represent, private people. So we believe that that's present everywhere. In particular in energy transition, Lisa. I mean, the investment opportunity created by the energy
Facility now
transition
breaking green, look.
is significant.
Breaks this resistance, blue zone, then it's a buy, look.
So
Again, it's going to be peaky, get in and out really quick on the buy.
And the possible ROI
Be good
that
to
you
go.
get.
Yes, of course. Well,
Price is
in
right on the top
particular,
line,
let's
so
take
wait for it to
renewable
come back.
energy,
You
which is
take
an
a
area
buy.
that we have been active into
Back.
in sectors like wind,
30 seconds
solar,
left on this candle.
in emerging sectors like batteries, energy storage in the form of battery. You have emerging sectors, which I will get into in a second. In that case, clearly, if you have the skill set and capacity to develop these projects, to properly locate a solar project in the right location, close to a load center, close to the right interconnection, where there is a good solar resource, you're able to generate with that capacity robust double-digit returns as a result of that development and being able to deliver that
Nicely.
to customers that have an appetite
Enter
for
all
that
the second
green
leg
power.
for
If you invest in existing already
wait and see.
developed renewable projects, then you do not have that development premium. And so you're investing into more operating renewable projects. In that case, you may be looking at high single-digit, low double-digit IRR, but more in the single-digit, I would say, given the lower risk-return profile.
If rates go up, does your IRR go up? Where are we in that continuum yet? Do you just see a higher rate regime before IRRs adjust up?
Well, I mean, Tom, you're referring to the fact that we are in an environment where rates are
Nice wins on that news. Really good.
And what I would say, it's an important point for investors, is to face that challenging environment. There is a need for a diversified portfolio, and we believe that
Rejected off that neutral support and our trend line.
that's going to be more resilient in that environment. The reason are that these infrastructure investments, by their nature, where you have high visibility on the revenue, often if you take
What you got to be careful of is making sure you don't enter a trade on any particular
with
support or resistance.
indexation mechanism in the contracts. So I don't think you make more money out of higher interest rates, but you get a degree of protection because your revenues are indexed to that higher rate.
Please visit us in New York. I mean, there's so much to talk about here. Makitel, I've got one question. We see the miracle of LaGuardia, world's worst airport, finally with a consortium of investors is there's optimism there. That we can refurbish and that we can rebuild quickly here. Can Carlisle take on the Montreal Canadiens and refurbish and rebuild them? Is Canada's infrastructure project?
That would be, I'm sure, a project that, you know, the challenge might be difficult.
We're in a falling wedge, as you can see.
Montreal Canadiens finished close to last or last in the league, so that might be more difficult.
Thank you. You would not invest. There's no, I'm sorry, and I'm Jean Beliveau, there's no internal rate of return this year.
30 minutes to the NY Open. Gold. Gold's now hit heavy support. See where the price action is there, look. Back.
Welcome back to another special Roland Garros update for Bloomberg TV and radio from Tennis Channel. I'm Jamie Maggio.
Bounced nicely off that support zone.
And a French legend bows out on day 3 in Paris. US Open winner Daniil Medvedev clinched his first clay court win of the season as he took out Bagni in straight sets.
Nice gin. I think we'll have another. Once we've got, let's have a look at this in 3 minutes, so what happens. If we get a move. Gin and tonic. Too much coffee today, so we're on alcohol now. Nice sell on US-30. Hey, brilliant. Nice win on that. A nice £32, which is about $50. On a little move as I put a sell in on that resistance zone. It's a cheeky sell. Let's see if this continues down. It's below our daily pivot. Sell as you want to do. 30 minutes, try and make its mind up down to our baseline again. Baseline, we've got about 26 pips. Pretty good. So now we're $750, $740 up today. Quite nicely. Like I say, I wouldn't use that, now be out. I want to trade whatever I've got, bank it all on the oil.
When you think
Oh.
space, you probably think
up again, not pushed nicely up.
one space agency that travels under the radar is ESA.
RSI is still in the neutral zone. It's had a clip green for a little bit, still backed off, so you need to wait for the confirmation. We know why, because it backed off a lot of resistance. Our daily pivot, our blue zone, our trend line, so it's pretty stacked. Price, and then you've got the same on the reverse sell here in a tight range. Always smoked up, look, cast this on green, RSI's dipped up. So gonna buy, you want to buy at the bottom. It's like now position, see up or not. Size red, so it's always a risk it's going to go down. That's your hedge. Blue zone now. Nice sell again, actually.
This is Bloomberg Wall Street Week. I'm David Weston. We've got the information.
Yeah, you really want to. You don't want to take reversals until you've got confirmation from RSI. At least if you're going to risk it, you're going to risk your trade. Wait till the RSI is in the neutral zone, because then it can go both ways. But if you're trying to do a buy when RSI is red, of course it's 80% more likely going to go against you. 20% you're in early and pat yourself on the back. 80% it's done what it's just done now. Look at that, beautiful drop. Wow. Nice drop on gold. Ah. It was nice buys on US-30. US-30 goes up, gold goes down. It's correlation. We know. You can see that here. This hand. RSI gone green. Look, it's got a little bullish momentum. Now broke above our neutral resistance, so we're on the way up. And see, it's got a lot of ground. Here was our last bear signal, and it hasn't changed to a signal. So I'm going to until we're back up here. So a long way to go yet. Let's see what happens on the open. The open, I'm assuming, should push this up higher. And I can say, funny how we get this move. Look, always 30 minutes before the New York Open, there's always some kind of move. That was the major move on gold. Crazy. Bang on 2 p.m. my time, which is 9 a.m. Always a move. A pre-market trade.
So what you get is a summertime bounce. We're coming out of an environment where 2021
is probably
going to prove to be a peak year in earnings.
The second round of tightening hasn't been priced in.
I think to say that at this point, global economy, that there is a recession, I think that's a bit premature.
This is Bloomberg Surveillance with Tom Keene, Jonathan Farrow, and Lisa Abramowitz.
Says like a secret move.
Surveillance on Bloomberg Television and Radio. I'm Lisa Abramowitz. Tom Keene here. John Farrow off on assignment. We are broadcasting live from the World Economic Forum in Davos with so much uncertainty currently in the conversations, but also in markets, trying to come in with a bit of optimism today after yesterday's declines and not being able to hold on to it, Tom, as we get closer to the open.
Yeah, certainly yesterday was ugly as we were leaving the set here in Switzerland, and we've seen some improvement in the tape. I want to note that there's a few things which I'm going to call uncorrelated, and the major one is Brent crude 115. I believe that's $5 away from 120.
Yeah, we're definitely moving upward steadily.
Crude's going up.
Proceed toward the summer where the driving season is peak. We also are watching a bit of a deterioration on the S&P and NASDAQ, adding potentially to the 7 straight weeks of declines. We were hoping.
The Castigs now has got turned red. Look, as you can see,
this week.
RSI looks like it's going to come back into the neutral zone.
Yeah, I think that fragile is the way.
It's been trapped in a nice range, but as you can see, it switches from resistance to support. That's a good thing about our AX trading system. Automatically updates everything for you. Changes from support to resistance and vice versa. Needed to. Be good.
Foley's work as Rabobank are truly merchants in commodities and hedging relationships for businesses. That is the heritage. Jane, tell me about what businesses are doing to hedge these crazy FX markets.
You know, I think this is a reality of an environment where the Fed is
futures slip.
Expected to hike interest rates a lot more.
All Fed minutes. That's the big one tonight. Remember, everybody.
Money of liquidity taken away, and I think
7. We'll be trading that for sure. Did last night. We got some nice wins on gold thanks to Mr. Powell speaking in and out, scalping. Do the same again on the FMOC minutes. 7 p.m. my time. Okay, London.
And to me, you know, that means that if
nice
you're looking at euro-dollar, you're
trade.
one day, that doesn't necessarily mean to say we've got to turn in this trend. And for me, I think in this environment,
I want to see what the crude oil is going to do as well.
Be supportive of dollar, this fragile environment.
I don't need the inner secrets, but for example, with an explosion in wheat prices and with the opportunity for Brazil to export wheat, just as one example, how do you advise on real to hedging customers?
Well, you know, the real is still one of the better performing currencies in the world. I think it's about number 2, number 3 in the world today, but that's not necessarily something which is going to sustain. In terms of the real, in fact, in terms of all emerging markets, you know, there are risks. There are risks from China growth. There are risks to US growth. To
Settlement support now. We're going to use this as the catalyst to break the next level, the trend line in the blue zone and up. 20 seconds to go. See.
It's how much further can that go without really damaging domestic
dipping back, retesting and dipping down. It's 1, 2, the third retest.
Jane, how
price usually makes a decision then which way to go. We've got 25 minutes till the open. Like it's going to break.
It's really quite tough. I mean, I think we see that.
Yeah,
in the amount of
go.
volatility
So it's
that we
sat
have.
above
It's very uncertain.
pivot now.
I think that's going to be a story.
I'm not saying I put a buy in because look how small the candles are. Look how weak the price action is following the pattern.
Interest rates,
The
and that
open.
could be, quite some time yet. So I think we've got a lot of different voices. I mean, we have optimism coming
Sat
through on
above,
certain
clearly
days,
above.
but generally speaking, if we are uncertain, if there are all these fragilities in the market, if we are talking about the risks of recession, to me, the common denominator there is safe haven. People are going to want safe haven on most of those days, and that is why I think the dollar tone is going to hold steady, despite the fact that we might be talking about slower growth in the US. I still think that safe haven is something which is going to be supportive of the US dollar.
Based on what we've heard then, even out of the ECB, Jane, are you still looking for parity with the US dollar and the euro?
Price action now pushing up high above our trend line. Looking very bullish, 75% strong bull momentum at the moment. The daily volume's only 29% though. So like I say, all this can be wiped out. And it
realize that these forecasts are going to be far more, or at least the market's going to be far more erratic, and the forecasts quite much more difficult.
20 minutes to go.
Over the next few months, and maybe over the next year. And I still think that we have got a risk again that we will get to 103.
Gold, so look at gold. Gold dropped, beautiful drop, as you can see there, and then pulled back. Hit the trend line, points of interest. Bounced up out of our RSI.
From the EU towards Russian oil.
Again, I will be taking a buy because we want to wait. This is our breakout zone here. So, wait again.
Right now, but it is ours. We put that into our economic forecast right now, and that means we put the embargo into our forecast, and that means we see risk of recession, and that could weigh on the euro.
You mentioned safe haven twice.
This is the thing about waiting for the end.
What's your analysis of dollar Swissy? I mean,
price breaks above, finishes above here, then yeah. Oh. Welcome to Scalp level here. 13 pips, I'll do. Good chance, more likely this is going to dip back down into a level. It's a bear, 71%. So you've only got to come down to fill that candle to get 80 pips within that.
We could see the S&P cave in. There have been some muttering, some
sell at the top.
The S&P over the last week or so, and really, if the ECB hikes interest rates like everyone is anticipating they will do starting in July, it could give the S&P a little bit of cover to try and move their interest rates away from that.
Durable goods was great, and it's been a nice steady push up.
Are you telling me that there's such a larger bet on weak euro that we could go the other way, and if so, what's your level?
Well, once again, I think the euro will be vulnerable because we think there's a recession risk for the euro. That could make the Swiss franc more attractive. Certainly.
Yeah, here we go. Beautiful push up now.
It's far more protected from the energy security issues than most of the rest of the.
Definitely become a second leg W, as you can see.
Huge amount of hydroelectricity, a lot of nuclear, for instance. So it's not as exposed to the Russian debate. It's already a safe haven. It's got a big current account surplus, for instance, and that means that if we were to see more stagflation, more recession,
nice perfect W without the durable goods spiking down and be there. Look, probably we're coming back up to here. Got to get past the open first, but that's looking good.
Of a possible rate rise from the S&P,
beautiful.
Maybe towards the tail end of this year. Certainly, that conversation is one that's valid for next year.
Jane Foley of Rabobank, thank you so much. It was admirable to be talking very seriously.
It's all can be reversed. We're at 29% volume, so
something about some goat farm that you're going to buy. I've just got to say.
As I look to finance this transaction, I think we're
nice break above our zone.
Foley's brilliance is a triple.
Size now creeping up. Look, 63 looking strong.
With a look at stocks moving ahead of the opening bell, Abigail Doolittle, please bring us somewhere else.
Good morning to you, Lisa and Tom. Well, we do have futures down slightly, a little bit softer, down about 0.3%, but lots of earnings continue to roll in, and Nordstrom bucking the bearish trend that we've seen for retail. Right now, shares up 3.2%, well off the highs, at one point up more than 10%, even 20% I saw at one point. This, of course, after they beat on sales by 6%. So the high-end consumer is still there, and more importantly, they raised the outlook. Not so much, though, for Dick's Sporting Goods, plunging down about 13%. They actually beat in the last quarter, both in top and bottom line, but they slashed the outlook going forward. Relative to Intuit, the tax and accounting software company, they put up a beat. It was a stronger tax season than expected. Shares up 2.4%. Toll Brothers, the luxury home builder, up.
They remember the news was worse than expected, so we could get a push down. You know, being on the open. So hang on in there. They
of course, in line with new home sales yesterday, plunging to
got about 20 minutes to go. I'm going to go get another gin and tonic. I shall be back in 1 second. Thank you, team.
Sharply higher. The shares of Wendy's up about 9% the last time I looked. Yeah, right around there. This, of course, after Nelson Peltz's Trian Fund said that they're considering some sort of transaction there. They already own 11.8%, and analysts are supporting that. Smith & Wesson right now up 0.5%, and this, of course, in the wake of the tragedy in Texas, that mass shooting. But it is worth noting that typically after these mass shootings, we see these gun stocks rise more. Right now, relatively muted action there. Social responsibility investing could be at play there. And then Wynn Resorts and Live Nation, amid the tragedy, we don't know if it's directly linked, but sometimes we will see some of the travel trade, the reopening trade, trade down, but not off so much, down about, let's call it 0.75%. Overall, a little bit of a softer opening, Lisa.
Abigail, thank you so much. And we will be observing a moment of silence on the New York Stock Exchange in about 10 minutes here, coming up for the tragedy and the people who lost their lives in Texas, which definitely has been casting a pall. Why are we still dealing with this, Tom? I've got to say.
It is the fabric of a nation. And what is so sad about it, in talking to people who have a love of hunting or the West and firearms, we have removed ourselves so far with these repetitive idiocies. My problem with this, Lisa, is we look at these larger events and they're sad. Thoughts and prayers each and every day across this nation for the violence that we see.
And for all the children, my children included, who huddle into closets in order to prepare for a possible tragedy.
They do the rehearsals on
They do the rehearsals. Coming up, we're going to be taking that moment of silence as we try to spin forward a conversation that we shouldn't be having again. We're also going to be speaking markets as we look toward perhaps a softer open. From New York, actually, no, from Davos. This is Bloomberg.
From New York.
Keeping you up to date with news from around the world with the First Word, I'm Ritika Gupta. More details coming out on the shooting at an elementary school in Uvalde, Texas, that left 19 children and 2 adults dead. Authorities say an 18-year-old gunman barricaded himself inside a classroom and shot at anything in his way. Eventually, a Border Patrol agent raced to the school and killed the shooter. All of the victims were in the same 4th grade classroom. In the UK, Prime Minister Boris Johnson says he bears full responsibility for illegal lockdown parties in Downing Street. A long-awaited report on the scandal was released today. Johnson told Parliament he was only briefly at the parties in question and he didn't know about the bad behaviour that happened later. And in Georgia, Governor Brian Kemp won the Republican primary, dealing a blow to Donald Trump. Kemp defeated the former president's hand-picked choice, former U.S. Senator David Perdue. The Trump camp incessantly criticized Kemp for refusing to overturn Georgia's 2020 election results. Kemp will face Democrat Stacey Abrams in November. Pfizer plans to sell its entire portfolio of brand-name drugs at cost in as many as 45 lower-income countries. It's one of the most ambitious drug access programs ever announced by a large pharmaceutical manufacturer. The initiative will start in 5 African countries with 23 drugs for cancer, rare illnesses, and other conditions. And Bloomberg's learned that Broadcom is working towards announcing a deal to buy cloud computing company VMware as soon as Thursday. The stock and cash acquisition would value VMware at about $140 a share. That's roughly $60 billion. The terms may still change and talks could still fall apart. Global news 24 hours a day on air and on Bloomberg Quick Take, powered by more than 2,700 journalists and analysts in more than 120 countries. I'm Ritika Gupta. This is Bloomberg.
Welcome to the AWS Cloud Cafe. From gaming and sports to self-driving cars and even robots. Let's step into a future where the cloud comes to you.
When you think of cutting-edge technology at sea, you might be thinking of stuff like this. But there's an incoming revolution on the high seas that isn't quite as sexy, but could be significantly more impactful.
Container shipping is the key component of global trade. About 80 or 90% of all the world's goods are transported at sea at some point.
But there's a significant unseen cost to the modern era of global commerce.
About 3% of all the world's CO2 emissions come from shipping.
3% may not sound like a lot, but that's roughly comparable to the entire CO2 output of Germany. Since reducing trade isn't a likely option, what about a technological improvement to help reduce the emissions from these well-stocked maritime behemoths?
Bloomberg has enhanced search on the terminal to deliver what you need when you need it. Now, you can simply type phrases in everyday English in the command line. Compare financials. Find people. Analyze markets. You can enter phrases or ask questions. What do you want to know today? Ask a question or visit SearchGo to find answers now.
Mercedes-Benz is on a path towards CO2 neutral mobility. So we have flicked the switch there, and really we're going to step by step electrify everything. And what does that mean? Combustion engines get electrified.
This is a market that over the past few weeks has made it clear it wants to go higher. It got a little spooked by the idea that geopolitical tensions are rising.
In our baseline, we do not see a recession. What we are going to have is much lower growth. We are downgrading growth and simultaneously higher inflation. So the combination in terms of financial stability implications is worse than it was before the war.
Luis de Guindos, ECB Vice President, speaking in Frankfurt earlier today as we try to parse out what the correct narrative is. Are we going to see recession? Are we not? In Europe, in the US, and definitely the growth slowdown seems to be the predominant narrative, at least du jour. Also the predominant narrative right now, Tom, very much is around what happened in Texas for the United States.
Well, let's switch to that right now. We're coming up here in a moment of silence, folks, and of course, everyone of every political persuasion in shock over the repetitiveness of this. It's gotten old, to say the least.
Well, it's just that everyone says something needs to change. We can't see this happen again. And we were talking about this in 2012, in 2013, 14, 15. Fast forward to today, and yet another 22 children lost their lives as a result of someone gunning, just arbitrarily doing this. How do you then proceed with action?
I can only say, folks, that we will give you the best coverage we can on this with our team in Washington, of course, with Anne-Marie Horton and others. And also, I think we're working in New York to a great extent for balance of power, which you'll see at 12 noon, where I hate to use the phrase, but they will rip up the script. And this has to be addressed once again.
It refocuses the attention once again in President Biden to speak at 4 p.m. Eastern time on the tragedy, trying to figure out how to proceed forward. It is such a difficult
The figure out forward is only the United States Senate. Whatever your belief is, that's the fulcrum point of debate.
And how to address this, Most? I mean, it's a multifaceted problem, and it's something that a lot of people are looking to address. But certainly a lot of investors are looking at this as well in terms of exactly what Abigail Doolittle was talking about with a certain response. But the issue really is front and center. How do you make a dent when we keep talking about it again and again?
We will have to see here. We are in Davos, Switzerland, the World Economic Forum. Lisa, a quiet moment in New York.
We are now going to turn our attention back to New York, joining the New York Stock Exchange and NASDAQ in observing a moment of silence.
We say good morning to you on Bloomberg Radio and Bloomberg Television from Davos, Switzerland. It is a Switzerland where I can tell you it was the lead of all of the German news agencies and all of continental Europe, their lead story this morning on the United States. For those of you on radio, the NASDAQ with an imagery of the state of Texas on their wall.
Yeah, definitely been a morning of somber thoughts for what happened and how to proceed there.
And we're back, everybody. We're back. We topped up our gin and tonic. Woohoo, we're back in the zone. And we've got 7, 8 minutes to go till the open. And as we suspected, US-30 is just sat in its range, waiting for that move.
Try to figure out what to do about this. I'm sure the president addressing that this afternoon.
Oh god, that's a nice gin. Now, is it going to be a breakout to the top side? Been trying to for the last hour, or are we going to see a continuation as the futures are dropping to the downside? Wait and see. RSI has been ranging in and out of the neutral zone. The stochastic has been all over the place. So yeah, we like ranges, because when there's a range, we know a break is coming. Folks saying, yeah, US futures wobble ahead of Fed minutes. This is it. Worried about this.
When you talk about crypto, what does everyone else at Guggenheim think? Do they lean forward and hang on every word?
Well, yes, because I'm probably the only person who spends enough time looking at it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's you know, I was an early believer
Gold
in crypto.
pushing up
I remember looking into
after that nice little move we had.
I did a presentation up at the Nantucket Project on crypto, how to deal with it, how to invest in it. And I really thought that
good. Could be a nice buy on the open. And I don't know what's happening with 30 SP 500s also down. As this could be a nice push up on the open before retracing back down. Don't know. You can see we tested now 1, 2, 3, 4 times. It's now support. Sat on.
Everything is suspect.
You're a really, really bright guy. I want you to explain the divide between Alan Hour at the Bank of International.
So at the moment we're running, still running loads of profits, pretty good.
On the study of Bitcoin and the entire scarcity, the derived scarcity.
See now a trend line has formed. We've got a wedge again now.
Miles apart, and they won't read Alan Hour.
Right. No, well, I think, look, because Bitcoin and any cryptocurrency at this point,
Size back in the zone once more. 4 minutes to go, everybody, and then we're going to be trading. The next news after that is the oil news. That's it. So we're just going to be trading the open, see how that goes, and then dip in on the oil, crude oil.
For what I just said.
When you get back to your desk.
Yeah, exactly.
Lisa's cell phone just melted down over there.
Exactly. But when you consider we have 19,000
currencies
or cryptos or whatever we want to call them.
Wendy's. Shares of Wendy's up.
Do you have any crypto asset investments?
We did. We had Bitcoin. We bought it around 20,000. We sold it at 40,000. And I really thought we were going to correct. After we got to 60, I thought we would correct to 30. We got there. And then I began to look at it and say, why are we stopping here? And so my latest work, which is entirely technical, because there's nothing else to look at here, is that we were probably going to hit $8,000 before.
What was that number?
8,000 until we totally flush.
So you have
what's
no
going
more
on.
holdings?
No.
Okay,
I mean, if I were, I'd be short. But
well,
that'll get me shot too. So
you've been predictably bearish for a while, talking about how you do think that the U.S. is heading toward a recession, but you've remained sanguine on certain risk assets amid this because of the short term. Has that changed as people bring forward the slowing growth narrative?
Yeah, it definitely isn't the slowing growth narrative that caused me to change. It was my time at Stanford a few weeks ago at the Hoover Central Bank Conference. And I saw current Fed officials, ex-Fed officials, and they uniformly were extremely hawkish. I engaged in opportunities to talk about the market and the functioning of the market and so on and so forth. The bottom line is that short of
they're the breaking for the break, because on the final countdown, 1 minute 30 seconds to the open, everybody. So good luck. Let's see. Get any joy on US-30 and gold. Nice rejection so far. Our neutral resistance. He's gone back to resistance from support now. That's good. See if we get a push down. Look, everybody. Gold. Like it's creeping up. Remember, this is all to do with that news. Had 40 seconds left.
We know that it's highly transmissible. We know that 2 doses of vaccines, Pfizer vaccine specifically, neutralize the virus, but not as efficiently, because
30.
showing that reduction up to
20 seconds and counting down. Ready, everybody, get ready.
to successfully neutralize the variant. What we don't know is still that what are the effects of mix and matching between vaccines, and what are the capabilities of antibodies produced
By 4.
mix and matching in
The bell time. Bing, bing, bing. Oh.
Many parts of the world use different types of vaccines, and that would be a great data to look at. It will be also great to look at, because majority of the studies done, uses a small sample number, and most of the time, when you translate it to real world,
Around at the
the
moment.
data changes. So it will be really good to look at large-scale data of the ability of antibodies from vaccines to neutralize this variant. Grateful here today that the virus Omicron variant still uses ACE2 receptor as its main entry. It means that all of the vaccines which are designed with spike in mind still works. Imagine if it uses a
A
different
nice sell there. We've got one loss of $2, but we've got a win of 32.
that is the best news
Down, do nicely.
studies which came recently, the past couple of days.
Access the financial world on demand. Hear from leading economists, policy
Traders are going to break that
and industry
free zone.
experts via live
All
and
because
on-demand
the
webinars
news, remember?
from Bloomberg. Start exploring to see what's moving the markets.
Hey,
Visit Bloomberg.com
Hey.
webinars.
price action. All up and down, up and down. RSI, they're fighting. The bulls and the bears. Bearish, 62%. Fighting on our baseline, that trend line, as you can see.
BSO Now is your online home for weekly Boston Symphony Orchestra and Boston Pops performances. See new concerts that go behind the scenes, plus acclaimed archival concerts. Visit bso.org/now, where the music plays on.
You'll fight. Look at the fight. See the fight. The movement's great.
Than previously expected because of the slowdown. And I've got to say, how much of this has to do, Tom, with what's going on in China, given the fact that they think that there will be a continued type of pullback there.
On radio at 9 o'clock hour, are they clapping for John
Drop.
Farrell's out? That's about.
Nice little win.
That's exactly what they do. They clap. They basically are clapping as we open into a little bit of softness. We want to take a look at the specific stocks that are moving. Abigail Doolittle in New York. What's going on?
Well, when we really break down the weakness that we're seeing, this little bit of a softness on the open, it has everything to do with big tech, Lisa. Take a look at Apple, down 1.1%. However, Apple is holding key support. The 100-week moving average has held very well in recent routes over the last,
beautiful.
5 to 10 years. So right
And
now,
against, everyone was saying sell on the tech, and NAS does the opposite on our 3-minute time frame, as we know. Always way. Catch everybody out, take out your stop losses, get your pending orders.
Nvidia trying to flip higher. They, of course, this chip maker, giant chip maker, reports tonight after the bell. There are some high expectations there. And then Applied Materials down slightly. So we're actually seeing a dissipation of the weakness for tech. Let's see whether or not that can turn the markets around. But
If it
Apple
buys on
is
NAS
still
100,
down about 0.75%.
and looks
As for earnings movers,
it's in the air, and the same on NY Open. Officially call that move on NY Open.
After they beat in the last
What you
quarter,
need to
both top
wait
and bottom
for
line estimates, but relative to the outlook, they
the open.
slashed it
You're done.
significantly, so those shares lower. Toll Brothers up about 0.6%. The luxury home builder did beat.
Could see a retracement on this, but let's play out. This is really good.
They're seeing second quarter. However, they're seeing demand weakening going ahead, very consistent with that new home sales number yesterday, missing the mark for the month of April. And then Wendy's up 7.5%. This, of course, is Nelson Peltz's Tryon Management Fund is
in the end, it formed that second leg W. Yeah, the spike down was just a brick. I open, everyone's saying it's negative. Looking at wins on the buys. That's how the market goes when you're micro scalping. Going against the news, look at that, beautiful. There's the bull signal. We're on that now.
Yeah, volatile. I mean, Elon Musk's bid to buy the company is not on the official agenda, but I think it'd be an understatement to say it's the elephant in the room. We had Jason Goldman, who was an early Twitter employee, an early vice president of product on BTech last night, and he was saying he expects this to be the Ragnarok of annual meetings. Of course, a reference to
beautiful. And we just got another 45 and 13 on that buy, so it was another nearly $100 on that. Beautiful buy, jumped in on those candles there.
Trading right now. Of course, Twitter's been caught up in the market volatility. It held off for some time compared to the rest of the technology sector, but also the recent sell-off in social media stocks induced by Snap's revision of its forecast. Advertising
Minor resistance there, you see up for that.
Out there in Davos as well.
Nice.
So those will be the questions beyond the official agenda. There is a Q&A session where Parag Agrawal, the CEO, Ned Segal, the CFO, will field questions from shareholders. But let's
beautiful move, great move.
What's going on with this Musk bid? Musk says it's on hold, but ultimately the terms of this deal have not changed.
Open there.
Ed Ludlow, thank you so much. Greatly appreciate that. We make jokes about it, but this is really some drama, some theater.
3 trades, all we needed.
The modern transaction and combinations, Lisa, just an absolutely
There's more to come.
Original moment.
The shares at $36 and change tell you everything you need to know for a far stretch from the 54.20 that Elon Musk was proposing.
Price push in, yes, great. Look at this. So much for a negative market. This is where the market catches you out. You're not wise to it. Give you.
We want to pay attention to the rate and dynamics of the markets. Michael Schumacher is head of rates and macro strategy at Wells Fargo and joins us this morning. Michael, I know on a Wednesday you're already framing up the writing for a weekend. When you look at bonds, I think far more in equities, there's a guessing of the
futures negative, it said. Like it to me.
So when we start hearing from the Fed,
US-30 and NASDAQ.
Bank of England that inflation seems maybe not under control, but a lot less nasty. That's when we start thinking about the bond market reaching a peak in yields. Until then, I think it's game on. Yields go up, front end trades poorly, curves flatten. It's a lot of messiness, a lot of volatility.
Now we're going to get ready for oil. We traded the open, just a couple of trades on that. You know, it's a way. Let's see if it breaks our breakout zone. Then we're at heavy resistance and take more buys. And the heavy resistance will take sells as well. Back down. Level here.
We move to an acceleration or a jump condition in price.
Yeah, convexity comes about in a couple different ways, Tom. So if you think about how the world functioned, let's say prior to the financial crisis, there was a lot of convexity in the bond market from hedging, mainly mortgage portfolios, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. It's not really there anymore. Now I'd say the convexity comes in a different sense. It's not so much market driven, it's more policy driven. So focus on inflation dynamics. Central bankers are going to be very keen to look at the path. They know inflation's coming down. Is it coming down fast enough? Is that second derivative in their favor? And that's where the convexity really kicks in today.
Beautiful.
Mike, how much comfort do you glean from the fact that bonds and stocks...
Remember, this is all based off bad news on durable goods. Bad news on durable goods, bad news on futures, bad news on investing.com, bad news everywhere, and all the market does, it buys. And this is all about manipulation. This is if everything just followed everything that everyone told you on the news, we'd all be theirs because we just follow it, enter a trade, and take our profits. This is what you've got to learn: is the manipulation of the market. This will have blown so many people's accounts, caught many people out. People putting sells in for the open, selling at the open. You know, I mean, we did, but we knew when to get out. And this is what it's all about, learning the art of true scalping. Even if you swing traded, you could have been blown out of the water by now. From the open, had a 146 pip move on US-30. That's goodbye to most people's accounts who were looking for sales. So unless you got a massive account, want to hold this drawdown. But the chance of this coming back is not. It's going to reach heavy resistance, fall back a little bit, and then continue back up again. And when it breaks this here at 3272, there's an official. We've had no bull signal yet. The RSI is just clipping out at 75, 74, 78. Sorry. If it gets to that 85, obviously I'm looking to take the reversal. Not there yet, so there's still more to go on the buys here, possibly. We're up against resistance. I'll put the arrow in for the sells. If we retest our neutral support zone, what we anticipate might well happen.
Take a listen to what he had to say.
I think always price is a function of demand supply fundamentals always. So prices will always react
Now
to
we got
supply and
get
demand.
back to NAS doing the same.
At this point, we have
Excuse me.
fragile equilibrium.
That's my gin and tonic up my nose. So
Think about today, there is
let's have a look at oil. Have a look at oil. We're getting ready. We've got about 40 minutes to go, 50 minutes to go to the oil news, the EAI.
There is a lot of talk about,
Get this ready.
how much is spare capacity and all of that, and I think that is an issue.
How much more can demand grow from here as we restart to open up?
I think we were really caught after the pandemic, as economies start to recover. We've seen
That on support at the moment.
Strong pickup in demand, to be honest. And
You can see we've got
a lot were surprised to see that much demand pick up after COVID, as
Well,
economies start to open and people start to
keep watching US-30, see if our highest is going to go, see if it's going to hit that
countries
heavy
different
resistance
increase
zone.
different demand patterns. But for example, in the US,
Popping
you
down.
see
If it gets that resistance zone, I'm putting cells in.
transport
As
fuels,
now it's just
some
wait.
areas where there is some lockdowns or whatever, there is still an impact in terms of their demand. But in general, the market is well supplied.
Could you see or foresee a situation where there's so much demand that actually there's just not enough supply and the price of oil shoots up to 150?
Well, I don't want to talk about prices, but today we don't have a lot of spare capacity. Spare capacity is 2% or lower. In a market of 100 million barrels, that is very low spare capacity. Usually spare capacity give a comfort to the market that in case of any type of disruptions, interruptions anywhere in the world.
After today we'll go back to trading 1,000
and will supply the
account.
market. Right now it is
As account, we'll go back to
going down, and it's quickly as OPEC and OPEC Plus
end of the
release
day
400,000
at
a
what
month.
profits
Very
are.
soon you have a world that 100 million barrels or more.
A lot of resistance there. Look, big blue zone forming.
So does that make you nervous not having that buffer?
Wait and see. By just clipping down 75.
It's always good
Nice
to
bull
make
run.
sure that there
See
is
if it's come
enough
to an end or whether it's
capacity in the market to supply or to mitigate any interruptions that might happen. We've seen a lot of interruptions that's happening in different parts of the world, and that spare capacity will always help. Right now, I have been talking about for a long time, lack of investment is really not bringing additional supplies to the market, and there's not much investment going on.
So what's the solution for that? Because even if we start investing now, because of the crisis in Ukraine, the timeline is going to not match when we need possible extra supply.
You are absolutely correct. We have been, since 2014, we were spending approximately $700 billion. We went down to almost $300 billion. We picked up a little bit to close to $400 billion in terms of investment. But that is not enough, especially with the increase in commodity prices. So you need more to even maintain your current supply in the market. It will take years to build any project. We announced our increase in capacity by 1 million barrels in 2020, and it will come to the market in 2027. So it takes time to do engineering, and it takes time to bring that capacity to the market.
Does it mean that we could see a lot of volatility in prices from now until then?
There is need, as I said, for more investment. There is short-term investment that can happen. Shale oil can come to the market much quicker, but it is short cycle. But you need both. You need also an investment in long-term project with more sustained plateau for 20 and 30 years. And that's not happening that much. We are doing our part in terms of investment, but you need that to happen from all players, all energy companies globally.
Has our relationship with fossil fuels changed because of the war in Ukraine?
No, I think relationship, we always will need fossil hydrocarbons in general as part of the energy mix over the long term. That's our position. While we are building a lot of renewable projects and hydrogen and other projects and nuclear maybe in the future, you need in parallel to ensure that you are investing in hydrocarbons, because you need both. Hydrocarbon will always be part of the energy mix over the longer term, and we need that investment. We are seeing right now a lot of talk about no investment in hydrocarbons, But this talk about no investment, while we're not doing much about investment on the other
Yeah, here's the
side.
bull signal.
So we
Brilliant.
need
Oh,
investment
it's
to
flashing
build
in,
our
flashing
power,
out.
building a renewable.
Yeah, this means that's official bull.
Nuclear, if we are doing any nuclear
Sticks were going on up.
projects. At the same time, we need in parallel to invest in oil and gas and bring additional barrels and BTUs to the market to make sure it is balanced.
But we used to talk about peak oil, right? Does that get pushed back?
I don't believe we are at peak oil yet, because we are seeing, as I said, everybody talked about we peaked. Yeah. We've seen, we were caught in a surprise when COVID ended that we are seeing more demand. Our view that there will be more demand going forward for hydrocarbon, and that's why we are asking for more investment.
Heavy resistance, though, that's the problem. It's got to break that.
Will you IPO it?
I think we're always looking at our portfolio. We have done 2 infrastructure deals, a gas line deal and a crude oil
back.
pipeline also.
Size 77, still not overbought really.
Evaluate and review our
Got a chance to move, but the heavy resistance.
If there is anything that
Oracle spiked up, come back down.
Inform people in due course.
Do you already have an idea?
Now you've got another bull signal, it was a nice win.
Or is it too premature to talk about how much it's worth?
No, I don't. As I said, we are continuously reviewing our portfolio, and it has a lot of elements in it. In terms of
sit waiting, wait.
If we decide to do something of that nature, we will inform the market accordingly.
How will the trading unit
We all knew
change in terms of?
It was a nice win on the bear signal.
Some non-Saudi oil.
Well, I don't want to.
Come on, they're really good.
Now going to, as I said,
the chance of this break higher, obviously, you can see.
Aramco, when we decide to, if there is a
decision
to do anything with trade,
it would be
TradeCo, call it TradeCo.
That's our baseline.
Market, and we'll inform the media accordingly. But right now, this is a lot of talk about TradeCo going into the listing. We will evaluate if there is any, as I said, the whole portfolio of Saudi Aramco is being evaluated, and we will decide accordingly.
So there could be other asset sales?
We, as I said, it's
so you've got
a huge portfolio
Fed
that we own. And we
news as well, minutes later on, should be good one to trade. We'll trade that.
And a business line, honestly, managing that, they are looking, they are reviewing, they are working hard and looking at everything in Aramco, and if there is anything that, as I said, to come to the market, we will inform the market accordingly.
A delicate interview with Ahmed Nasser. He is Aramco's CEO. That was Francine Lacroix here in Davos. It's important, of course, important for global Wall Street, and particularly with discussions. I don't know what Anne-Marie Horton has exactly said about President Biden possibly really re-engaging with Saudi Arabia, which means re-engaging with Aramco.
Exactly, at a time when oil concerns are very much in the forefront, especially heading into the midterm elections.
Some of that oil, of course, is moving across the Indian Ocean. I believe it wanders by Singapore and turns left up the Pacific Rim to so much of the booming Asia. Now, without question, my most important interview of this Davos on Asia, the focal point of the South China Sea. Kishore Mahbubani joins us to say that he's Distinguished Fellow of the Asia Research Institute at the National University of Singapore. Barely describes
off if you want.
To the highest compliment I could give him. Even the people
Vocal
who disagree with
distance
him
like this, look, the blue zones.
To try to understand the true
breakout zone
of Asia. Mr. Mahbubani, thank you so much for joining Bloomberg today.
My pleasure.
Has China won? What a provocative book a number of years ago. Give us the
back to
update
test
we
that
need.
blue zone.
Has China won?
Well, I think clearly 2022 is a bad year for China, and partly because they're struggling to get out of COVID-19. That's a domestic storm they have to deal with. And then geopolitically, of course, China has also suffered from the Russian invasion of Ukraine. on several counts, just a few examples. Number one, as I said, China wanted stability in 2022 because they're having a major political conference later this year.
Slowly 34% of the volume of US-30, as you can see.
Strategic partner Russia has been weakened. They wanted to deal with United States and Europe separately. Now there's been a consolidation of the West, which is obviously a negative for China. And fourthly, of course, they didn't expect that the Russian central bank reserves could be taken away so easily.
30 seconds left on this candle.
China, as you know, the Russians only have 700 billion, but the Chinese have $3.2 trillion of assets. And these assets can now become liabilities. So 2022, therefore, is a bad year. But I think the Chinese have also shown a capacity to manage crisis very well. So I would say same time next year, when you come back, things will probably be better for China, and the long-term trajectory will continue.
After lockdown, and I'm thinking of Robert T. Kaplan's wonderful Asia's Cauldron, of the tour around your South China Sea, including your Singapore. After the
Full signal
lockdown,
again.
China feels they own
Our breakout zone look.
of that body of water. How does Asia?
But if you turn some indicators off, you can see what's happening on price action.
Jr. in Philippines.
Well, the good news I can give you is that even though the Chinese have drawn a 9-dashed line, which seems to
Stochastics red, RSI's green.
they're claiming
Watch out
ownership
for
of the South China Sea, I can
the sync,
categorically
remember,
say that they do
all
not
red.
claim ownership of the South China Sea, and they actually allow total freedom of
Blue
navigation
zone full.
through those waters, and China doesn't regard those
Heavy
waters
resist.
as internal waters.
How badly does Singapore
Flashing.
and the other nations of the Pacific Rim need the United States to show the flag with a dynamic navy and also with a reinvigorated base structure across the Pacific Rim?
Well, as you know, the reason why East Asia is the most successful and most dynamic economic
Watch and
region
see.
in the
Let's see if we
world
can get some
is
sells.
because the United States has had, I'm talking about 50, 60 years, a consistent commitment to keeping that region stable and secure and allowing growth and prosperity. And ASEAN, the Southeast Asia, 10 Southeast Asian nations have done very well, primarily also because of the American presence. I can just give you one statistic.
Please.
In the year 2000, Japan's economy was 8 times the size of ASEAN. Now it's only 1.5 times larger. By 2030, ASEAN will be bigger than Japan.
See, his hands move up and down, just like on radio.
Exactly.
It's great. Great radio with Kishore Mahbubani.
You're getting an endorsement right there. No, there is a really very real question underpinning what you've just discussed, which is the rise of China, maybe paused by the pandemic. It's been a very bad year. How far have they pushed out their overtaking the U.S. in terms of size of their economy?
Well, I mean, the Chinese economy has literally exploded. Let me give you another statistic. In 2012, 10 years ago, China's GNP was $8.5 trillion. 2022, it's $18 trillion. No country in human history has added $10 trillion to
Just fighting that resistance look of our breakout zone.
The long-term growth trajectory
71% bullish though, bullish and falling, momentum, 34% day volume.
because the Chinese have made massive investments, in their economy.
Do you think that people here
It's candle coming up.
representatives fully understand this at a time when China is not represented and the main focus has really been on Ukraine and Russia?
See.
Well, as you know, Davos is like a
Down there.
What you
Blue
see
zone is
in
now
the
stuck.
open sessions and public
Distance.
sessions is what they're talking about publicly. But equally important, at the core of the onion of Davos, there are hundreds of private conversations, private dinners, private encounters. And as someone who wrote a book called Has China Won, I can assure you that there's a lot of interest in China and what it means. I mean, people know intuitively that within 10 to 15 years, China will have the largest economy in the world. And the world will be very different.
So how are people positioning for that in those private conversations inside the Onion?
Well, I think what's happening is that there seems to be a bifurcation between the Western approaches and the rest of the world. And by the way, out of the world's population, 12% live in the West, 88% live outside the West. And most of the 88% in Latin America, and just give you a
It has disappeared, so it's good to watch. Good to watch how the access system works, you see, with the signals.
like 1 year to export $1
Some of the
billion
bull and bear
to
signals. RSI still 73, still high. Stochastic's coming down, so still, if I was looking for buys, I'm just waiting, watching on,
that they have to
taking it.
adapt and adjust to a new China. And the more we can engage China multilaterally,
See where
and this is
price
what
is,
we hope United
white
States will
line.
do, in a sense, enmesh China in various multilateral arrangements, which will then, frankly, constrain China.
Enmeshed?
I think as of now, while they are still number 2, I think they are the Chinese, in the Chinese psyche, after 4,000 years of Chinese civilization, what they fear most is chaos. There's a Chinese word for it, luan. And if rules give stability, they'll accept the rules.
We're running out of time, and this is so important because I can't say enough about it. Do we need a dose in America of Kissingerian realpolitik? I mean, what do you need from America to change the dialogue where the fact is the legislature of the United States does not want to engage with China? So what's the realpolitik that we need to begin to look post-World War II, post-Vietnam, at a new Pacific Rim?
You're absolutely right. In fact, the central insight of my book, Has China Won?, is based on a lunch conversation I had one-on-one with Henry Kissinger, where he said that what the United States really needs is a comprehensive long-term strategy for managing the rise of China to match the comprehensive long-term strategy that China has to manage its relationship with the United States. So it is Henry Kissinger who gave me the central insight for my book.
Kishore Mahbubani, thank you so much for taking the time of the National University of Singapore. Tremendous insight on a day when there has been so much focus on Ukraine and Russia in the public sphere, but under the surface.
You've been leading on this.
I mean, honestly, under the surface.
And it is a European Davos, and as we heard from Mr. Mahbubani and Lisa, you've said the radar's still on Asia here, even within all this turmoil.
Especially as Chairman Lee today came out and basically said, look, this is going to be worse than what we saw in March of 2020, February of 2020. This is something that is much more significant economically for China. Right now, we are seeing a little bit of a bounce in markets. Coming up on Balance of Power on Bloomberg Television and Radio, Robert Zoellick, former president of the World Bank, to spin the conversation forward. And of course, many discussions about what happened in Texas with one of the worst mass shootings in a school in United States history. This is Bloomberg.
Drop your seat. Martha's up. It's sat right.
I'm here at the Delhi airport, and behind me you can see SpiceJet 737 MAX aircraft. earlier today said that Boeing is going to compensate SpiceJet in form of cash and aircraft. There's a big celebration happening at the Gwalior airport. As you can see, they've literally rolled down the red carpet for SpiceJet chairman Ajay Singh. There are balloons, there are flowers. This is a big deal for SpiceJet because it is the only operator of Boeing 737 MAX planes currently.
Lots happening on Wall Street.
It's the basic law of economics.
It validated what the market was already pricing.
Need to catch up?
This is Bloomberg Wall Street Week. I'm David Weston.
We've got the information and insights.
David, you just hit the nail right on the head.
From businesses most influential and
rejected off that heavy resistance zone, as we said. Perfect.
Continue to see that kind of strength.
Bloomberg Wall Street Week premieres Friday with replays all weekend on Bloomberg Television and Radio.
Hey, we got a nice win on that buy there. Beautiful. Good, with that buy. Heavy on that one. $75.
It's really a reminder, isn't it, just how sensitive the markets are to any commentary about trade. We did see some pressure on the yuan, we did see some pressure on the futures. That is now being reversed.
Nice.
Pepsi's Number Fever campaign in the Philippines has probably gone down in history as one of the biggest marketing disasters in history. Mainly because of a...
There was a push down, a push up. On heavy resistance, remember, so this is where I usually like to enter sales. Waiting for. Would hit. Hang on. So I'm back to an account of 3,600. That win so much to 3,800. Account size. On that breakout zone, so let's wait and see. Beautiful. Breakout. $46 left. Why not? Claiming all those losses suspected from yesterday. Hit their resistance. We're out again. Dollars quick. See if it pulls back. And then out quick there. Let's push down, look, rejection of that resistance. We've got 25 minutes to the oil news, which we'll trade. So keep going. Down. Great stuff. Yay, we've got nice sells on there. Got another 99.85 on that. Good. 2. Two more sells done. Taking our account to nearly 4,000 already. Let's wait for the break. Okay. Another 1966. Up now. Good. And we've got looking at $5.84. That. Oh, helping the top of the distance lever breaks it. One or the other. Keep going. So again. I still 68. Oh, 2 wins on that sell, 85 and 85. Well, again, so up to 4477. Start at 36. See if we can again sell or buy. Right zone unit. Good. Brilliant. Got a 32 then 89, another $200 on that. Racking it up. Here we go. And look, just wait for price again. 2 minutes. This candle's candle. Highest point is 1. Oh. 42 and 32 on that. Down. Pumping them up. Let this zone. Wait for it to be highest point. Still pointing. Casting. Oh, we've got 27. Oh, we've got 96 cents lost. Damn. Man. Oh. On the execution. That first loss for ages. 96 cents. Damn. Can't live with it. And we're still messing around on this resistance. So we're still going to keep looking for sells. Go again. They break that. Come down again. Next candle's the crucial one. Hey, it's broke it finally. At last, now we can buy. Look to buy, team. Last. So eventually one thing goes or the other way, you know what I mean? So you just wait for it. up. Let's remember. Sell. News in 15 minutes. Looks back in on the sells. Give us some profit. Come on. Around a little bit. Range of them each way. Great when it's these heavy resistance, heavy support zones. Pure gold. End up catching a trade either way. So it's break. Price. Zone. Waiting. Still hanging on. Brilliant, we've got 46 buy there. Backing them up. Buy 76. Back. Catch. Just going to top up our drink while we watch this action. We're back team, we're back. Right, we've got 7-8 minutes to go till the oil news. Some great wins on mega scalping. It's rejecting again US-30 off that zone. Remember, it's getting up to where it was, look. Where we're going to get a sell-off, possibly. So we did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 trades since we were back to 3,600. One loss, and we're up to 4,700, so £1,100. Proper profit in the space of half an hour. Here's some of a gin and tonic. Right. Get ready, so look where we are. Let's go back to fire. Oil, where we are for oil. Here we go. Was a nice spike up. An advert. Right, so yeah, US-30 is the blue zone where it's going to push to the end of the run. Down from the back to his levels here. Really there's no momentum to go any higher. This is all with bad news on durable goods, remember this is, you're watching the manipulation in front of you. Bad news. Oh, tell you what, let's buy. That's what you gotta learn. This is how people get burnt out, because they just think, oh, you know, it's easy, sell, bad news, buy. See. Sell. Rejection. 79, as I say, it's been high since the open, pretty much in that 70 zone. Got 3 minutes to go to the news. There we go. 3 minutes, crude oil. Let's see what we can get on this. Let's load up our broker. So we're in. That. And profits out, so we're back to 3,100. Made there. Yeah, £3,000 starting again on gold, sorry, oil, and we're going to go in on 10 lot sizes, which is 0.1 for most brokers, and that's $10 a pip. 897 is the margin required, and we're playing with 3,100. See what this news brings. 1 minute to go, countdown. Go back to US-30 or mega scalping. Beautiful. Countdown. 50 seconds. Good luck, everybody. This takes time to come out. You've got the gasoline ones as well. Another great one. Go. We haven't really got margin for gas, so we'll just stick with oil. The news now. Right on a typical, always on our neutral support, our daily pivot. So we get a major event, that's the way it is. Ten seconds. Look, everybody. Better than expected on the oil and gas. Look, that drop, there's the reaction to it. Reaction, sell, up. Yeah, look at that big rejection, beautiful. News dropped like a stone. Verse. Get. Yay, and we're out and we're done. Excellent. Nice scalping there. We've got 39, 39 and 15. $25 at sell on okay. Sell on the good news. Expected manipulation, you see, forces it down. Again, reverse news. Gas. Oh. Highest point if you can. That's the best thing to do. well. A neutral. Green back into the investment. The 23.94. Here we got a 0 somehow. Get out bag on 0. That for some reason, but anymore. Right on our baseline. And the neutrals. We're done. Yay! There we go. 3 more cells. Perfect. We got 8, 23, and 63. So another $140 there and thereabouts on the oil sell on the better than expected. So we're all done on oil. Don't like to mess around. So there was your news result. That was it. Better than expected. Manipulation. And there you go. Market drops. A stone. It should be. What you're playing with at the moment when you're trading fundamentals, the market's trying to screw you over, catch you out. You're going to be wise to it and have something like our axe trading system that tells you going against, and don't just sit there and going, oh, should have gone the other way, trade with it. And that's what we did, and we came out profitable there. That was good. So that will overall we got not all post the whole thing. See what I got there. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 trades, probably about $300 there. Good. Bagged, like. Right, we're switching back to US-30 now. US-30 is continuing recapturing of its zone look, going higher and higher. Good. Yep. Wait for that to go down. Price action. 68 on that. Nice. Against that minor, wait for that. Dollars there. Good. Number 2 buys on 30. Blue zone now formed, you see. Get out of those buys. Bounce off the trend line. Up. bounce of the trend line. Action. Sells a quick $30 on that rejection of the line, the trend line, as I said. Move. Oh, I was about to say. Trade going well. Let's have a look. Get a rejection to zone. You know, our stochastic's red, so you've got to watch out for that. Nice push down. Beautiful. Oh. Break. I'm going to take some more sells. I see if it creeps above 66. Sat on that now. Got another about 7-8 minutes on the stream session, and about 1500 for the day. So perfect day scalping. About 52, counted about 52 trades and about 10 losses max. So we're well up for the day. Let's see if we can continue scalping 30 as oil, scalping the Fed minutes later on as well. And to see if price actions and any more on this though as well. Look at the break 5. So Yeah. Candle. Down again. Cells. Beautiful. Great. So beautiful. 30. Couple of $100 on that. Stream. Yeah, a long one today, but we traded all this news successfully. Look at that. Good news. So you've got to know. Back later for the FOMC meeting. Wait for that news event as well. Thank you everybody for joining me. Say if you want to learn about how to join the group, go to www.mohawkforex.com. All the information is on there for how to join our team, how to learn how to do scalp, follow what I do. Until the next live streams, trade safe all, keep watching the charts, enjoy your trading, and see you on the next live stream.